Good evening, welcome to Parshas Va'eira, welcome to Torah Delights podcast. Thank you for joining us, it's much appreciated. I've got some wonderful meilich which I want to share with you today. The meilich this week come from parsha, that's from meilich biederman, and I'm also going to quote from last week's Mishpacha magazine. I haven't asked their permission, I hope they don't mind. Repanach Plotnik. I think it fits in the beautiful idea that he brings and it fits in with what we're going to talk about today. Those following Daf Yomi Ashrecha, Baruch Hashem, I'm still doing it, will know that this week's Daf, a lot of the Dafim taken up in third parak with Kovod Abrius, with how much Chazal were worried of how much we need to mechabed someone else, and it comes different circumstances with Avelim, and the Gemara brings down different cases there of where Kovod Abrius is apparent. So this ties in very nicely with this week's Sedra. So Parshas Va'eira, as we said, the pasuk says, Shemati, this is Ne'kas Lishma Enkas Re'eu Lehete Zelos. Parshas and Perik Vav pasuk Hey, but Gam Ani Shemati is Nakos Bnei Yisrael. Pasuk says, Gam also I heard the cries of Bnei Yisrael. A biur, and the explanation is Sadikim Omru V'Gam. What's the lotion V'Gam? Also I heard. Ki Kachi Hanokosoi Shel Boyer Olam. This is the way of Hashem, the Boyer Olam. Kashe Yishma Ish Tzarkas Reu. When the Boyer Shalom hears the cry, or Yishma Ish Tzarkas Reu, when a man hears the cry and the groans of his fellow friend, Bismali Rachamim Olov, and that brings out Rachmanis on him, Lamod Limina, to help his friend, Lahasim Imena Kol Tsar V'Koiv, and to remove any tsar and any pain that he might be in, Al-Chabadoisa, and to honor and respect him. What happens then? Gishma Gam Hashem L'Kol Nakosoi. Then Hashem will also start and join in and hear the cry of his nakos, of his crying out. You could do b'dvar yishuv v'rachamim. Through him crying out and helping his friend, Hashem will help the friend. Hashem will also help him. I think that's special. Yishma Gam Hashem L'Kol Nakosoi. Certainly Hashem will help the person who's crying out, and also the friend who's coming to help his friend. And he explains in this week's Sedra, it's a beautiful idea. There's someone who's good to his friend. It's one of the midas of a yid. The samach v'simchosoi, and he's happy in his simcha, no nitzah, which is sometimes it's easier to be mistarif in someone's star, but misam of a simchosai, which sometimes is a lot harder, mis'ale adin kates, he will go up adin kates if he shows this midah. The Ksaf Sofer brings down on this week's Sedra, who it says in the parsha Perik Vav pasuk Chav Vav Chav Ches, who Aaron and Moshe, hey medabrim al Para Melech Mitzrayim, lahozes bnei Yisrael Mitzrayim. They spoke. Aaron and Moshe spoke to Melech Mitzrayim, lahozes bnei take out bnei Yisrael Mitzrayim. Who Moshe v'Aaron, and what does Rashi say on it? Rashi says who Aaron v'Moshe. It says Aaron and Moshe. So sometimes it says that Moshe understands why. Sometimes it says Moshe Aaron understands Aaron and Moshe, and they're shokol, they're equal. V'hiksha Shalach Kodesh answers the one to Kasha. Hey Chomash Shekulim. How can Rashi say that they were equal? We know that Moshe Rabbeinu Lakom, there was never anyone like, never a Novi like Moshe Rabbeinu. How could you say Moshe Rabbeinu? Aaron also said, I'm not like Moshe Rabbeinu. So how could Rashi say the Shechun they were equal? Zog the Heilige Ksaf Sofer, Ki Yochein Moshe Rabbeinu had Godel Aaron. Taka Moshe Rabbeinu was greater than Aaron, his brother. Elis Ba'isisha, at that hour, that time, Sha'omda Amul Paroi, where they stood opposite Paroi, Nis'ala Aaron Liska Moshe. That time, Aaron came to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? And he was only zoich this when he saw the samech b'libai. when he saw that he was happy, when he was happy in his heart that all the schus that Moshe Rabbeinu had, then Aaron was increased like Moshe Rabbeinu. Even though Moshe Rabbeinu was younger, in years, Aaron HaKohen was happy for his brother. He wasn't mekana him, wasn't jealous of him at all. And also he went with Moshe to be his interpreter, to be his spokesperson of Bnei Paro. Even though he knew but this is it's embarrassing. Moshe Rabbeinu is the younger brother. He can't. He's got speech impediment. Aaron's older brother, he should have this chus. Shahari Paro, and even though he knew that God and Paro knew this, that Moshe Rabbeinu was the younger and Aaron was older than him. Nonetheless, he wasn't embarrassed from this. Aaron hikruv since Aaron was hikruv ma'atzmoi, he did it b'soiv leiv, he wanted to help his brother without any thoughts for himself. But it's this manly shocker Moshe. Then he was zoicha to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. Ki ma'oid godla chashivosay shelam shaba midoisav. Great is the one who breaks his midas and his nature bein odon l'chaveira concerning bein odon l'chaveilis. Alus be'liyah achaliyah. He can reach unbelievable heights. So we see this concept of a person being metrachten von Yen, and a person feeling another person's son. This is a beautiful idea brought out in last week's Mishpacha, page 32, by Rav Henoch Plotnik. I'm just going to say, I won't read the whole article, it's quite long. I'm just going to say a little bit how this idea is brought through and how we see it with the Gedolim and how we can bring it into our own lives on our own level. So he's talking about... he's talking about in 1982 was a newcomer in Eretz Yisrael, and he learned under Reb Shach in Eretz Yisrael, and life was Gan Eden until war broke out in 1982. But that shattered the peace. They heard the helicopters flying over Rahman Salon to bring to ferry the injured soldiers to hospitals in Petach Tikva and Tel Aviv, and Tehillim was said in the yeshiva. He says, and then came the awful news that Aaron Kotler's son was Nifta. It was assumed a good percentage of the yeshiva would travel en masse to Yerushalayim, and those who normally took charge of things made plans in order that buses would be accommodate the hundreds of Talmidim. As per protocol, these well-meaning organizations approached Reb Shach, who was Reb Shneir's cousin, as well as the foremost masbid at Levaya, to sign off on a mass exodus from the yeshiva. The response was a lesson I have carried me for life. The Rosh Yeshiva declared that there would be no buses, and if anyone felt the need to attend, he should travel by taxi or shirot. He explained that it was unthinkable that soldiers who were putting their lives on the line for us and would be present in the streets of Yerushalayim should see hundreds of similarly aged boys gallivanting the streets, as was bound to happen before and after the funeral. It would be a lack of sensitivity and empathy to contribute to what would be a perceived lack of Nesias oil. Children are burden. There would be no masses, individuals perhaps, but nothing more. As I alighted from my taxi in Shalim with my American peers, we all took notice of the heavy presence of soldiers, some even carrying their tefillin along with their rifles. Rav Shach was so right. His concern would have been the last thought on my mind, but the Godel Ador saw much more than we did. It is not for naught that our leaders are called Eidah, the eyes of the nation. They see what the rest of us do not see, and share the vision of those who look for them to look for them for direction. And we see in the hundreds of stories of the Gedolim that they had this midah of noisor chaveira, of thinking of other people and having in mind other people. And this is what we see, this midah in this week's Sedra from Moshe and Aaron. That's why Aaron was zeicha to meitiv and zelosai to do good by Yenim. And we see how he was zeicha on that occasion to be regarded in the same light as Moshe Rabbeinu. I want to say one more vort from meilich, which is the wonderful idea as well. Shemet tefillah, Hashem hears all tefillahs. So it states in parsha Ches Perek Tezayin, Vayom Hashem Moshe Ashkin Baboker V'Yatzei B'nei Paro. So Hashem says to Moshe, get up early in the morning and go before Paro in a yotze mind when he's coming out of the water. So Neros Isa B'Medrash Hetzi Rabboisa. this is unbelievable. This is a medrash in Shmos, in I think Shmos Yud Aleph Av. Hoya Paroi Roitze Lasog B'Tefillah. Paroi wanted to be involved in Tefillah. That's why he went to the river. Okay, he went to be excused because he thought he was godlike. But the Shmos Rabbah says that he went down Lasog B'Tefillah to be involved in Tefillah. Omar Kadosh Baruch Hu Moshe. Before he goes, before he goes, go and advise with him. Someone who thinks of these words, what's going on here? Tispala b'nashai will be, his heart will chapashrek. Will be remained in this place. What's going on here? Boin Shloim knew the power of tefillah, the koyach of tefillah, and he didn't want Paro to daven tefillah because it might have an effect, and the tefillahs of Moshe Rabbeinu, and they wouldn't be able to take effect. Hetzi Rabbi Sai. Who are we talking about? Every person who says Ma'ani or Machash Uchalam and the Spal of Nebar. Who am I to daven for the Rebbeinu Shalom? Shem what's my tefillah? Case of task is philosophy. How can my tefillah make an impression? He should think of this vort and make a chal v'chayma. He says, I've done aveiros, I've done this. Hashem's understand tefillah. Why do I need to go? I want to daven. Ki im ze harosha. If already this Rasha, Paroi, Sheshibud, Shishim, Riboy, Bnei Yisrael, who was Shabbat, Shishim, Riboy from Klal Yisrael, Varachatz, Bedomov, he enslaved them and he washed with their blood, Shabnei Yisrael, Mikol Mokai, Tefilosai, Tatzilena Mina Makais, his tefillahs would have an effect that he could be saved from the makkahs. Asher Hayu Magim Labiyosh, that's what he was davening for. It was so great. We see the effect that his tefillahs would have had an effect. That Hashem had to say his tefillahs are going to have an effect. So Rosh's tefillahs are still going to have an effect. If we go to him, get him before he davens. Therefore, he can be pious, he can dive, he can have tefillahs will have an effect. Even someone who doesn't hold himself gross, and he thinks he's nothing, can say Meshosish Para. He's zicha more heilig and more koiches than Para. And he brings down with the story of Mamnashe and Chizkiah ben Yehuda, Rosh Gomer, V'loyesh Michas Pir didn't want to Hashem, and he davened as well, and his tefillahs were answered. So we see the koyach of tefillah. The person should never give up. A person should never think of himself. A yid is a yid. We're beautiful. We're Amadushna Oineg, a nation that saturates of goodness, and we should always remember that. And the Yetzer Hara will try to tell us differently, but we see from this thought that the power of tefillah. I hope all your tefillahs are answered, and I wish you a lovely Shabbos. And if you're learning the daf, keep learning. If you're not learning the daf, then start learning. It's a beautiful limit, and especially brachas. As I always say, Rochan Kanievsky, people used to ask him for different refuahs, and he used to say, whatever the refuahs, learn the Masechta, and it's negate to that. And everyone needs brachas, and everyone, Klal Yisrael, even those who aren't zeich to learn it, we should all, the brachas from learning, from the Rabbim learning, should mashpia on Klal Yisrael. As always, if you got any comments, I'd love to hear from you. You can send it directly to me at info@netfurniture.co.uk or torah.delightpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Have a good Shabbos.